Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about how to get more confident lines. This is specifically for absolute beginners. It may help other people who are struggling with this as well. Um, and, and uh, this video is going to be interesting because I don't actually know how this is going to turn out. I am a beginner myself. And I have really struggled with this somewhat, getting confident lines. And the reason why I'm doing this video, even though I haven't totally mastered it yet, is because recently I started getting better at putting down confident lines better. And I'm not an expert at it yet, but I what I realized is that everyone, all the professionals, everyone who's good at doing this is, for the most part, the majority of them is doing something that they don't actually explain to absolute beginners when they are explaining how to get confident lines. I mean, sure, everybody knows how to put down a confident line, right? Hmm, that's a confident line. This is not a confident line. Okay, beginners, we don't have a problem with the concept itself of putting down a confident line. That's not the problem. It's the execution of it. And many of them are doing something that they aren't clearly explaining about how to get the confident line in the gesture drawing itself. And it's not that it's a secret. If you watch the videos, they're actually doing it, but they don't actually tell you what they're doing. They're not explaining the part because it's so basic. I think for many of them, they've been drawing for a long time, and for persons who are coming into drawing later on, older in age, um, this this step they probably don't even see it as necessary as explaining. But here we go. I'm gonna do my best to try and show you what really helped me in terms of figuring out how to put down confident lines. And then I'm going to do something totally scary. I'm going to do a live gesture drawing to try and put this into actual practice. And I'm currently doing a 100 gesture drawing challenge for myself, um, really just because I noticed that I am pretty weak in gesture drawing. And so, yeah, you're probably gonna get to see some bloopers right here on this video as I go through this process. But yeah, let's talk about it. So, yeah. So first of all, a confident line, yes, is doing a nice, straight, strong, confident stroke. Um, but this isn't the problem. The problem is when I try to do this confident stroke in my gesture drawing, it looks like crap. I mean, let's be real. The drawing just looks so bad. Ugh. And so, what are we missing? The problem is confident lines have to be confident. And when you don't know where the line's going, how it's going to turn out as a beginner, by definition, you're not confident. Um, but there's something you can do to nudge you in the direction of being more confident in where you're putting your lines. And it's actually two steps. One of them they talk about quite a lot. The first is a lot of the line exercises that they talk about. And I'll say these are actually important. Um, do them and it will help you be more confident. But this isn't a problem. But let me just cover it real quickly. There are several line exercises where you put like two dots close apart, further apart, uh, kind of random dots. And then in one stroke, you can try to connect those dots up. See, I'm kind of ghosting some of the lines. All of this they talk about in other videos as well. so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Drawing from one point to the other, a confident line. Uh, there are also some where they do ellipses. You ghost your ellipse, and then that one was horrible. You put down a more confident ellipse. Um, and you can even back that up by trying to get your contour ellipse in here um, to get your contour. So these you should practice all the time, of course. I'm still practicing these. You should practice them as well. They are very important in terms of getting your confidence up, knowing that if I have point A and point B, I can get to them. You'll also notice that I'm holding the pencil like this. I don't always hold the pencil like this. It's not always necessary. You can also do it like this. You just want the movement to be coming from your elbow and shoulder and not from your wrist. So you can make your confident lines holding the pencil like this as well. It's fine once you're not using your wrist action. So yeah, do exercises. Um, but this second step is the point that trips up beginners. Maybe you're special, but this is what tripped up me, and it took me a while to actually figure this out. Making the leap from these exercises to actually including them in your gesture drawing. That is the struggle. And here's the key. In these exercises, where you have one point and another point, it's easy to be confident because you know where you're supposed to start and you know where you're supposed to end. So then you can confidently go from point A to point B. When you go to do your gesture drawing, this is what you have. A blank piece of paper. Where do you start? Where do you end? And having this blank canvas kills your confidence. And so you start going, okay, I think the line should go here. No, that doesn't look right. No, it comes down like this. Oh, that's too close. This is the hip. And your confidence goes down the drain, so to speak. So if you pay attention to what most of the persons do when they're drawing, it can be digital, it could be traditional on paper, it doesn't matter. The majority of them are still employing the same technique to make the transfer from the exercises to the gesture drawing. And it's this. You'll notice that most of them, if you pay attention to some of the more popular comic artists, um, what they would do is they sketch out their drawing, okay, and then they erase, and then they come over with their confident lines. They do the same thing on digital. They scratch out the outline, and then you see them lower the opacity, and then they come in with their confident lines. But almost no one explains that to beginners, that you give yourself guide marks first before coming in with your confident lines. And so as a beginner, you need to realize that, hey, I need to lightly kind of outline where my forms are going. And then I can, now that I know, okay, the shape is moving that way, now I can come in with more confident lines, putting in gestures and going from point to point. So I'm going to try something here. I'm going to actually try to to do a demonstration of this for you. So, all right, I'm kind of nervous, and maybe you are too. I hope you're nervous with me. For those of you who don't know my background here, I've been learning how to draw for just, I drew a little bit growing up. Since high school, I probably haven't really drawn much at all. Um, uh, and my brother was always a better drawer than me. He would be happy to hear that if he ever hears this video. But I just drew for fun. I wasn't the person who was always drawing. We had one of those guys in our class, and like, people made fun of him quite a bit. But I drew just when I got bored, which we didn't have a lot growing up. So yeah, I drew when I got bored, and then after high school, I kind of ditched drawing, uh, really. So now I'm trying, and at the beginning of this year, I started taking my first paid course ever in drawing, Proco's Figure Drawing Fundamentals, and I'm almost right at the end of that. And so I'll have an update and probably review on that course soon. So yeah, but one thing I still struggle in is gesture drawing. So yeah, let's give it a try. So I am using quickposes.com. I won't show the actual picture here. Trying to keep these videos pretty light in terms of what I need to do for editing, because I'm really focusing on just drawing and then kind of sharing the things that I've learned along the way here. So at some point, maybe I'll have a higher quality production, but for now, just sharing my journey, sharing my struggles. There are a lot of struggles, so here we go. All right, so I see a shoulder going something like that. Again, notice how lightly I'm drawing. I'm also going to share a few tips here in terms of some things I learned just for basic proportions that kind of helped me too. Because at the beginning, proportions, oh! Anyway, here we go. So the shoulder is kind of going in that direction. My hip is somewhere down here, going in this direction. Okay, again, notice how lightly I'm drawing. It's probably barely picking up. I'm using a HB, oops, an HB pencil here. This is just some random HB pencil that my wife picked out. She saw I was starting to get into drawing and decided to buy me some pencils. So, hey, there you go. HB pencil with no name. Okay, so we got hip going that way. The spine comes from this side down and across here. Nice. Notice, if you want to know where the chest cavity or rib cage breaks, it's about halfway between here, and this line represents the bottom of my pelvic bone. So there you go, tip number one. Just, it's not exact, but just divide it up in about halves and it'll be better proportions than other things you may draw. Then we have our leg. Leg doesn't start at the bottom of the hip bone, it starts inside the hip bone. So we go inside, and it's going down in this direction here. And then I have, it's turning at the knee, coming out this way. Okay, then we have a hand that comes back and touches the ground somewhere down here. And this other hand goes that way. Oops. So one of the problems I struggled with immensely, a lot of my figures were coming out pretty wide. And finally I realized that, you know, the chest cavity is just a little bit wider than the head. I know that seems simple, that I should have figured that out a long time ago, but yeah, if you have a chest cavity that's this wide, your head needs to be about that wide. Don't draw a little head in here like that. That's That's wow. That's just, I mean, next time look at yourself in the mirror and you'll see that um, if your head is this big, your chest cavity is really probably only about this big. So there's another tip there for making sure that your gestures that you're drawing are not super wide, because I kind of struggle with that. Still struggling with that. So there you go. There's my hand coming down and the head is positioned right over that shoulder. Another tip for the head. Again, this is a rough proportion, but length of your head, whatever you drew for this, if you get that proportion, it's not exact, but just for gesture, it will get you at least in the ballpark. All right, so this comes in and out. Okay, so now that I have my rough sketch here, and notice with my light lines, and you'll see the professionals do this too. You can make adjustments like, oh no, that hand actually comes out a little bit over there. Make the adjustments you need, because these light lines are actually going to disappear without even erasing. I didn't bring my kneaded eraser here. This foot comes out the bottom here. I didn't bring my kneaded eraser. But you won't need it. The lines are going to disappear when you put down stronger, more confident lines. Of course, if you're working digitally, you could just lower the opacity. And sometimes you would see people not lowering the opacity, but what they do is up the brush strength. And so, yeah, they would have a really light brush strength. And then when they're ready to put down those real confident lines, they up the brush strength and put down those much darker lines. So again, everybody's doing it. Now let's try these confident lines over this. And the more and more I look at this, the more nervous I'm getting about how these confident lines are going to turn out. But let's give it a try and yeah, see what shakes out here. All right, so now we have the back going down to the hip. This part comes in, and we have hip bone coming out. This comes into the hip. It goes around. The shoulder comes off here. And down to the hand, which then goes out. Keeping my gesture in mind. There we go. There we go. We have a thumb that comes out the back there. I'm probably going to do a hands challenge as well. Just, yeah, letting you guys know how this is going to turn out. There we go. There are my hands. Yeah, don't judge. Wait till you see me a few months from now, then talk to me. All right, here we go. So from the back, somehow this back needs to reach my head. So you notice I went and drew another line here because this one was a little bit too far over. So this is going to go back of the neck. This is kind of bulging out to the back and going down to the hip. And then again, I made my light mark here for the hip, and the leg comes out here. And this goes here. And we get that leg. And we got this arm coming over. Wow. Okay. Let's go up to the head here. It's kind of peeking out here, and we got some here. Coming off the model. Can't really see what's going on behind there, but I think it's kind of turning and looking back. Something like that. This is probably her air back here. Oh, and there's a foot. Something's a foot. A foot coming out there. So, okay, that was try number one. Looks much worse than it normally does. So let's try one more time with the same pose. Here we go. Now that I've done it once, let's see if I got my jitters out. Probably gonna give myself another guide on this side for the hip. Now, and we have our head over here. This foot, I think I see what went wrong last time. One of my guides weren't really right. So I got this leg going up and out. And that one actually stops there. Okay, and of course this hand coming back and down there. So let's try this again. Oh boy. And what I did wrong last time is that this is actually the other hip here. We get one hip there. This comes down. That's your sacrum. This one can come back out here. Huh. Interesting, the marks you make. This is the big toe. Obviously that's a foot. This is going away. This is going away. Back towards. And then we have our head. It's actually a little bit lower. It has here. Wow, that's a lot of hair there. Coming down the back here. And the face is something like that. All right. So if you think this is bad, you haven't seen me doing it before. Some are better than others, of course, but basically that's how you get more confident lines, the beginning of more confident lines. As you can notice, the lines that I put down before really aren't so important anymore now that I put down a confident line. So don't be afraid to make your marks, and so you know where to put your lines, and then you can confidently come over with your confident lines, and in most cases you probably won't even need to clean up some of those lines, at least not for quick sketches anyway. You can leave them on there. So made it through. If you're giggling, that's fine. But yeah, if you want to see me continue to progress, if you want to show your support, just saying, hey, you can do it, comment below. I'm gonna be on a 100 gesture challenge here, seeing if the saying is true that drawing more will make you better. These are actually far better than some of my early ones. If you go back to my first video, you would see a lot of challenging times on gestures. But in terms of getting these done as quickly as I did just now, not putting much time to them, they're actually doing not so bad. Some of the gestures that you see me do otherwise, I put a lot more time into putting down those and making sure those guideline points are positioned better and more accurately before I start putting down my confident lines. And of course, the more time you spend making sure that those guiding lines are lined up properly, also known as a lay-in, the easier it is to get your gestures to look even better and even better. And so basically what happens over time is that you just get better at seeing the angles, seeing how things lined up. And so you can lay down those lines more quickly, more accurately, until you're probably good enough where some people can actually see those lines on the paper without even having to put them down. And that's why they look so expert. But yes, the faster you can see those lines and put them down accurately, the faster you'll be able to do these gestures and have them look amazing. So yeah, I can do them slowly, make sure the lines are perfect and make the gestures look better. But for right now, just demonstrating how to put them down even quickly and get something that's at least readable in terms of what's going on in the gesture. This one obviously better than this one where the hip is totally wrong. I kind of misread my lines there. But yeah, so if you want to encourage me, subscribe, like the video, watch my progress over the years. My next video will likely be, I've been doing a lot of practice, so it's probably time for another practice sheet review. And also with the 100 gesture review, and then I definitely need to give a review of the Proko Drawing Fundamentals, since that's the last one I did. If you have a suggestion of what you think I really should be doing next, in terms of my next course or uh, assignments that I'm going to take, you can put that in the comments as well. I've heard about things like Dropbox, which Graphicon pointed out. Not Drawbox. Did I say Dropbox? Drawbox, Graphicon pointed out. I'm also looking at something on anatomy. I think I could really use some work on anatomy, but I also really need some work on structure and perspective. So yeah, if you have a thought about what I should be doing next, whether it's a paid course or an unpaid course, I'm probably going to be doing some type of structured learning though. Let me know in the comments and subscribe, follow to see my progress, and we'll see how this turns out. Can I learn how to draw? Yeah, let's take a look. All right, thanks.